Story time about how my asshole boyfriend criticizes everything I wear. Disclaimer's not my story time. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 6 months. We're both pretty young. I'm 19 and he's 22. I could say that he's just young and he doesn't know how to treat a woman yet, but he's pretty immature in everything else. Now you might wonder why I'm with him. It's because I love him. I met him when I was 15 in high school and I've been in love with him ever since. He always used to tell me that I was too young for him, but finally when I turned 18, he started paying attention to me. I begged him to go on a date with me and he finally said yes. At first, everything was so amazing. He was fun, charismatic, and super affectionate. When he finally asked me to be his girlfriend, I was so happy. But then slowly he started criticizing everything I wear. He doesn't like when I wear hoodies or sweaters, leggings or pants, skirts that are too short, skirts that are too loose, or crop tops. First he would politely say things, but now he's just straight up mean about it. He told me when I'm around him I can wear skimpy clothes, but when we go out he wants me to wear stuff that's loose. So I literally changed everything I wore. I dressed only for him and I started hating myself. Part 2 of how my boyfriend criticizes everything I wear. Disclaimers are not my story time. Send me on Instagram. I completely changed the way I dress just for him. He would always find something to criticize, even down to the jewelry or hair accessories or makeup that I wore. It got to the point where if I went shopping, I would send him pictures of the stuff that I wanted to buy for him to approve. Even my nails. Anytime I went to the nail salon, I would have to send him pictures of the nail polish or any designs I wanted to do. And don't think that he's paying for stuff. No, he's not. I finally opened up to my mom and told her everything. She told my dad and they both got really upset. My dad even called my boyfriend and told him to come over. My parents told him to stop being so controlling, otherwise the relationship would be over. Of course, my boyfriend pretended to be on his best behavior, apologized and said that he wouldn't do it anymore. But when we left my parents' house, he told me I was a snitch. Then he made me promise to never tell my parents anything about our relationship again. And I know I should just break up with him, but I do love him. I've been in love with him for years, and now that I'm with him, I don't want to lose him. But I know that I've put him up on a pedestal. It's been a few weeks since my parents intervened, but my boyfriend hasn't changed a thing. I decided to buy myself a designer purse that I've been wanting for years. As soon as he saw me with the purse, he said that my privilege was showing, and that I needed to go return it as soon as possible because it was embarrassing. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how my boyfriend criticizes everything I wear. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me on Instagram. After he told me to return the designer purse, I said no. He then explained to me why I should be embarrassed to wear it. He said people that buy designer stuff are only trying to flaunt their wealth, and that people who do that are just trying to cover up their shortcomings. So basically, I'm trying to hide the fact that I'm not good at other things, or that I don't have good qualities. I couldn't believe what he was saying to me. For the first time ever, I defended myself and I told him he needed to leave me alone. And no, I didn't return the purse, and I'm not trying to flaunt my wealth either. So here's what I did. I started returning all the clothes that I bought just to wear for him and the ones he wants me to wear in front of other people. When he saw me again, he told me that I looked terrible. He said no one would take me seriously in my outfit with my designer purse. So I drove him back to his house because no, he doesn't have a car, and I've been ignoring his calls and messages for 4 days. My plan is to start treating him the way he treated me. I'm going to control and criticize everything he wears and see how he likes it. I think this is going to make things better. I don't want to break up with him because I do love him. What do you guys think?
I, 18, and my lifelong best friend, Emily, 18, shared a dorm at college. For backstory, I started having really bad panic attacks when I was 10 after my parents died. My brother Dylan, 32, took me to a psychiatrist and I was diagnosed with GAD and put on Prozac. I've taken it ever since and I have occasional panic attacks, but it's been a lifesaver. Emily has stood by me through all of it, but she never liked the medication. She was raised extremely Christian as opposed to my agnostic upbringing and thinks I just need to repent and ask for God's forgiveness. Now, I'm pretty good at just ignoring that since I trust my therapist and doctor. However, since we've gone to college, she has been looking at me weird and making side remarks every morning when I take my medication. She's asked me not to take it in front of her, and I try to do it when she's in the bathroom, but she insists that she can hear the pills rattling. It has caused tension, but I never thought that she would do what she did. Thursday afternoon, I was feeling restless and went into the city with my girlfriend Ava. Emily thinks that we're just friends. We've had a great time, but Emily kept texting and calling even though I insisted everything was okay. I'm usually okay with her being so overprotective because of an incident when I was 14, but I just wanted to be with Ava, so I told her I'd call her if anything happened and turn off my phone. A couple hours later, I got back to the dorm and Emily screamed at me for having my phone off and threatened to call my brother and sister-in-law. I apologized because I didn't want her to call and worry them. She accused me of not having morals anymore, and I just didn't say anything and went to bed. Friday morning, I was getting ready and found that all my clothes were missing. I asked her about it and she said, "You don't need drugs, you need to pray," and she said that she had flushed them. I lost my temper and told her that I need my medication to function properly and she had no right to do that. I had to go all day without it and it was a complete disaster. I had to step out of chemistry lab because I felt so bad. It was about time to replace the prescription anyway, so I did that and I'm hiding it in my backpack. However, Emily is demanding an apology for how I yelled at her and her boyfriend agrees with her completely. Ava, Dylan, sister-in-law, and other friends think that I'm completely right and should be angrier. We've been friends for so long, I feel like if I don't apologize, it'll all be over and the rest of the freshman year will be so awkward. I know she'll hold a grudge for a while. I shouldn't have shut off my phone, but she knew where I was. She has my Snap Map location and that I wasn't alone. I just want it all to blow over. Am I the asshole for yelling at my best friend when she threw away my anxiety medication? I, 28, and my husband, 29, have been married for 5 years. My husband was a nurse until he told me that he wanted to become a doctor. I was fully supportive, and he is now in his first year of medical school. I've been supporting the both of us as he can't work while in school, but recently found out our rent was being raised by $500 at the end of our contract in April. This was honestly the last straw as it pushed us past where we were financially comfortable, so I raised the idea of us buying a home. This had been in conversation for years, but my husband had always said that we could after he paid off his school debt from nursing, which was paid off early in 2020. I asked my mother, a real estate agent, who told me that with what we would be paying, it would be better for the money to go towards mortgage repayments and not rent. I brought all of this up to my husband, who shut it down almost immediately. He told me our agreement was to wait until he had paid off all of his debt. I told him that was for nursing and that he was in school for 6 years, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, and some doctors don't pay off their debt until 20 plus years. I told him I had been supportive of this career change and by financially supporting the household, but it was the best financial decision for both of us, but also relieved the financial burden for me. I brought up the savings we had for our deposit and how we could afford something small and modest within the budget, but he told me it was in our best interest to use that money to pay off his loans. I asked him if he realized the financial burden this would put on me, but he said it was temporary and eventually he'd make more than me, so it would be even, and I agreed to this. My mother called and asked if we were going to look into buying a house, but I told her that we weren't and we'd be looking for somewhere cheaper to rent instead. She insisted we at least consider it because it made the most financial sense and asked if it was because we didn't have the down deposit. I told her that we were probably going to use that to pay off my husband's debt and he didn't want any more debt until he was debt free from his student loans. Days later, my mother and father came to lunch and told us that they had news. They offered to gift us the down deposit of a home. I was over the moon and shocked by the offer. Once they left, my husband exploded on me, claiming I emasculated him and made him look bad in front of my parents. I told him I never asked for this, but we should take it as it was a privilege most people don't get and would relieve so much financial burden on me. He refused to talk to me or my parents until we apologized for shaming and emasculating him, but I refused to. I apologized but told him that I wouldn't make my parents as they'd done nothing wrong. Am I the asshole for emasculating my husband and refusing to make my parents apologize for it?
Am I the asshole for hiding the soda? I feel ridiculous for even posting this, but I need objective eyes on this. Background: 1 husband, 2 stepkids, 15 male, 17 male. Married 5 years. We keep separate financial accounts if that makes a difference, and we alternate who buys groceries week to week. Anyways, here's the deal. I don't drink coffee. I drink Mountain Dew or the occasional energy drink for my morning caffeine kick. My husband and the oldest stepson are both coffee drinkers. With increasing frequency, I'll go to grab a drink out of the fridge and all of the soda and energy drinks are gone. The kids have taken to coming home and grabbing 2 to 3 or more sodas, and before they left for their mom's house last week, the 15-year-old was actually packing a 6-pack into his backpack to go. The obvious solution, I thought, was to buy more soda. Yes, I know it's awful for the kids, but if their dad isn't stopping them from sucking down junk food, it's not my deal to intervene. Good point for you. Yes, you are correct. Nope, still gone to where I look for the fridge for one single much needed energy boost and nada. So I started asking my husband to pick up soda or a few energy drinks on his grocery shopping week to supplement. His response was that he's not wasting money on garbage like that and to complain about how expensive things like Mountain Dew are these days. Then tell your kids to stop drinking hers. Simple. Like, okay, you don't buy it, fine, don't buy it, but tell your kids not to take your wife's shit. Next tactic was to ask that if the kids drink the soda that they please leave a few behind if it's obvious we're almost out, so I have at least 1 or 2 when I go to grab one. This is where things took a turn for the worse. My husband got irritated and said that I was policing the food and that no one who lives here should have to ask permission to eat or drink. Really, dude? You gonna pull that shit? Ugh. Fine. I figured if I wanted to have a Mountain Dew or energy drink for myself, I would just put a little mini fridge in my office and stash a few in there. I got a tiny fridge that holds a 6-pack and popped a few in there. I put the cases I buy in my office and put a week's worth in the main fridge at a time so they last until I shop again. Okay, so you're putting some like 6 in your own little fridge and you're still putting a pack in the big fridge. Yesterday, the 15-year-old complained that there hadn't been Mountain Dew in the fridge for a few days, and my husband grumpily said, "Go get them from your stepmom's office. She's hiding food and snacks from you guys in there." What a piece of shit. At this point, I put my foot down and said I'm hanging on to some of the drinks that I like every week because otherwise I don't get any. And if everyone else drank what I put in the fridge for them before I shopped again and my husband didn't want to buy any himself, that's just too bad. My husband still refuses to buy the soda himself, but is convinced I'm being a complete and total jerk because I'm hiding what I purchase. Am I being completely oblivious to my own asshole behavior here, or is this as lopsided as I think it is? Nah, your husband's psycho. What the heck? He's not wasting money on garbage, but he's perfectly happy for you to spend your money and not even drink your own soda. So...
Am I the asshole for leaving the house when my sister-in-law said she was on her way to drop the kids off for me to watch? I have a younger brother who's married and has 2 preschool-age kids. He travels a lot for work and his wife is a stay-at-home mom. When my brother leaves the country, he'd tell his wife that if she needed anything, then she could give me a call. Then go on and on about how sister-in-law and the kids are my responsibility while he's gone. I never said I was okay with this since my sister-in-law and I aren't on the best of terms, but I try. Well, I got a call from his wife asking if I could watch the kids while she gets her hair done. I said no because I had to attend my girlfriend's art event. She said art isn't more important than your nephews and your brother's counting on you and said I could rely on you. I said no means no and hung up. Am I the asshole for leaving the house when my sister-in-law said she was on her way to drop the kids off for me to watch? Literally minutes later, I got a text from sister-in-law saying she was on her way to drop the kids off and I better not leave. I didn't reply, I just got dressed quick and got the F out of there before she came. My neighbor called saying that my sister-in-law was knocking on the door hysterically and checking my windows in an unusual way. I said to let her and she'll leave soon, and she clearly did after calling me nonstop. Hours later, my brother called me and was mad, saying what I did was childish and that I was a terrible uncle. I told him what happened, but he sided with his wife and called me unreliable, irresponsible, and a weasel. Now they're upset with me, and my brother got back and refused to see me until I apologized, which was hurtful of him. Am I the asshole for tipping our waitress $20 despite her poor service because my date was playing a game with her tips? I met a guy on a dating app and we hit it off and arranged for our first date. Things were going well and we sat down and had started some small chat. Our waitress came over asking us what we wanted to order. I say what I want and gesture to him so he can order. He orders, then pulls what I think is about $15 on the table. He then says, "This is your tip. Every time you mess up, I take some away." The waitress looked nervous immediately and I'm sitting there looking shocked but mostly embarrassed because I wasn't expecting it. She must have been new as well because she did spill some drinks on our table that night, gave us the wrong food, and overall seemed just lost. He took $13. Am I the asshole for tipping our waitress $20 despite her poor service because my date was playing a game with her tips? She must have been new as well because she did spill some drinks on the table that night, gave us the wrong food, and overall just seemed lost. He took away $13. I asked him why he thought doing tips this way was a good idea, and he said it was the best way to ensure good service. When I disagreed, he said we can't always be nice to these people and it's not a respectable job. I decided then that I wanted nothing to do with him and called the waitress over to get the bill. I slapped a 20 in her hand and got up to pay for my own meal. He demanded to know why I gave her the tip despite poor service, and I told him it's because he decided to treat her livelihood like it was a game.